What it feels like to die when you're about to make your dream come true. Welcome to Reza's Movie Club. Today's episode, and this would be the first episode ever, so yay to me. Today we're going to talk about one of the latest and the best Pixar film, Soul. If you don't know what Soul is, shame on you. It's streaming on Disney Plus and it's directed by one of the greatest filmmaker, working director ever right now on Pixar, and it's Pete Docter. Pete Docter has directed film like Up, films like Inside Out, and this year he directed one of the most profound animation ever and probably arguably the best film I've witnessed in my life. So yeah, I'm going to talk about it. It's Soul. Now, this story revolves around an African American named Joe Gardner, and it's voiced by the incomparable Jamie Foxx. Joe Gardner, who spent her life teaching music for middle school, once almost got his big break. He got into this audition and he was going to perform with his dream band, but then he died. Imagine that, he died. And then his soul was going to go to the great beyond. It's basically when you die, you just go to this mysterious place that can't be comprehended in the movie. But because he was so passionate what he was doing and he felt like this is his big break, so he could not die yet, he reluctant to go to the great beyond. And then he got lost. He got lost to the great before. The great before is actually a place. There's this place in the world somewhere. It's a place where souls that have not yet been born will be trained here. Will find his interests, his personalities, his quirks, and his sparks, their sparks and passions. And then he encountered this soul named 22 who basically sparkless or not passionate about life and does not want to go to Earth. So together, they actually have to travel and embark on a new journey. Now, the voice of 22 was voiced by the amazing Tina Fey. So the question that the movie raised is that will our hero, Joe Gardner, could go back to Earth and makes his dream come true? Or maybe if you root for 22 or Tina Fey, then the question is, will this soul could actually go to Earth and find her sparks or her passion? Now, I'm going to explain two things because I think that there are two main questions that the film managed to address very beautifully. The first one is answering the question, what is my passion? And will my life be meaningful or not be meaningful with or without it, right? Now, the burden of proof in these questions are three sub-questions. First of all, is your passion equals to your purpose or your mission in life? The second of all is your passion supposed to be the essence of your life? And three of all, what actually makes our life meaningful? I'm going to explain one by one. Number one, the film does not judge you if you have passion or if you don't have passion, because passion in itself, or sparks as this film says it, is not equal. They don't necessarily mean purpose. Just because you have passion in filmmaking, just because you have passion in music, does not mean that you have to be a musician. Does not have to be, you don't have to be an Academy Award winning director. Because if there's anything that this movie tries to capture, is that passion is not supposed to be your purpose or your whole life mission. Just because you love something, you don't have to make it the center of or the whole definition of your life. Now, what's so good about this film is because Joe Gardner has this perspective that he has to make his life meaningful. When there's a character named 22, she doesn't even know what her passion is, and she's trying to figure out even until the end of the movie. We're constantly wondering what is her passion is and how would this soul actually end up to when this soul actually goes to Earth, right? Now, because of these two spectrums and the characters, we get to see and we get to root that no matter what your passion is, no matter what your purpose is, our life is not defined by that. And so another question arises, right? to what extent actually passion should serve our moral compass. Now, another good depiction that the movie captures is that there's this thing called the lost souls. The lost souls are those or the souls or those people who have these passions who are corrupted and intoxicated with obsessions, meaning that, for example, you're so passionate about stock exchange that you cannot think anything other than that. So after you wake up, after you sleep, you become corrupted with this, that you have to make big money earning or whatsoever. Now when obsession has actually taken over that, that is when the purity of the passion or the sparks is actually compromised. Now the depiction of the film capturing this is actually very comical, yet also very metaphorical. You have to watch it yourself. I won't spoil anything, but I do hope that when you watch the scene you could understand the gravity of what I'm trying to say, because it really reminds me of what life is really about. Life is not just about you work from morning until night. It's actually more than that. And then the third question arises, right? What makes our life meaningful? Will our passion or will without our passion make our life be the same? Now the answer is also depends on you. But at the end of the day, if there's one thing that the film stresses, is that life is more than just series of achievements and checklists or those goals or those aspirations, but it's also about being present and enjoying every living moment of yours. For example, we have thought that when we have a dream or when we have an aspiration, once we actually grab our dreams or once we achieve it, we will feel different, we will feel special. But the thing is, we'll feel the same, because at the end of the day we're still us, and that's just the perception that happened in our head. And it's totally okay, because at the end of the day is the fact that we get to do it, the fact that we get to do what we love, even though we're struggling making our dreams come true. That should be the center, or that should be the point of what makes our life meaningful, and that is what this movie greatly capture. At the end of the day, what makes our life meaningful is not just about the achievement that we try to define. It's not just about the certificates or the awards that we've accomplished. No, it's actually every living moment that we've spent. Now, the second question that I would like to answer is, how do we live? Because if there's one thing that this film also tries to explain is how do you live, it really affects on how do you spend your life, right? We've known that passion could correlate or it could boost our productivity or whatsoever. But I think that if there's one another takeaway that I'd like to stress from watching this movie is that do not take things for granted. And truth is, we often take things for granted. For example, we take our parents for granted. We take our moments eating pizza for granted. We take every fresh airs when we walk outside of our home for granted. And now that we're in a lockdown, we're living in a pandemic, and we're limiting our physical contact to our loved ones, I think that becomes one of the most reminder on what we should not take for granted. But more than that, it also reminds us, when we're breaking down what makes our life meaningful and what do we mean by making every living moment meaningful, it's actually those small details. And it's amazing how these small details are put together on the screen, on the canvas of Pixar animators. For example, you're going to enter to two kind of worlds in Pixar Souls. First of all, in the world of New York, where Joe Gardner lives, and second of all, the world of Seoul, where Seoul people live. In the Seoul people, everything seems so simplistic, because souls do not have to feel something, or do not have to feel what human body could experience. But so therefore the animation is pretty simple, and the whole background and the whole animation is pretty much not that amazing. But when it comes to the New York or the scenes in New York, you get to see the amazing details on what the animators intend to do, and every movement and every choices and every scenery, it's just a great blessing. I could only imagine what would I feel like if I really watched it on the big screen, because I cried. I cried like, I don't know, a million times watching Souls. And the unique part is that I cry in the scene where it's not designed to be sad. Like for example, in Pixar's Up, I will cry in the opening montage, for example, or in Toy Story. Yeah, I would cry a lot when the toys are reminiscing about Andy, or in the last scene. Oh, don't even get me started. But in this film, I don't cry because the scene is sad. I cry because I could appreciate what the animators intend to draw, to paint, which are the small details in our lives that we often take for granted. And for that reasons, you have to watch Pixar Soul. Now there are other things as well that makes this film great, like for example the representation. It's Pixar's first African American protagonist, and I hear great comments or critics everywhere that says that they do the representation right. Partially thanks to Kemp Power, who co-directed and also wrote the screenplay. Kemp Power is an amazing playwright, so I'm really looking forward of his upcoming works. Second of all is the music in itself. I love Parting Ways, and I could see that it most likely will be nominated in the Oscar in multiple categories, such as, of course, animated feature, of course, maybe original score and original soundtrack. But I really hope that, screenplay also. I think that it could have potential, but I really hope that this film could be nominated for the Best Picture, because even though it feels like it's designed for kids, it's not. It's a film of a lifetime that you adults should watch. It's like what Angela Bassett would have said. It's small enough for kids to grab, for kids to consume, but it's big enough for adults to ponder what it means to have soul, what it means to have spark, and how do we have how do we spend our lives? I think that's just amazing. Soul is now streaming on Disney Plus. Do not forget to watch it and tell me what do you think about it. I'll see you in the upcoming Reza's Movie Club.